In July of 2026, the United States Mint began striking a $1 coin with a living man's face on it. There is a law about that. It is written into the same act that authorized the coin, no portrait of any living person. The face went on the front, the law names the back. Set aside what you think of the man, that is not what is interesting here. What is interesting is that there is a law at all. Somebody at some point decided that the question of whose face goes on money was serious enough to write into legislation. And somebody else decided it was worth the trouble of working around. Nobody argues about whose face goes on a ruler or a thermometer or a set of kitchen scales. Now sit with how strange that is. We treat money as the most boring object in our lives. A unit, a measure, a number you use to buy things. And yet we have written laws about what may be drawn on it, and we fight over the drawings. That is because money has never really been a measure. It has been an object we agree to believe in, and what is printed on it is not decoration. It is the part that does the believing. 91 years before that coin, a president did something with a picture on American money that nobody has ever fully explained. In 1935, two things happened to the dollar at the same time. In February, the Supreme Court finished Roosevelt's break with gold, and the dollar got a new back, carrying an image that had sat in a drawer unused for 153 years. Most people know the second thing happened. Almost nobody has asked why the two happened in the same year. Two things from the last film. First, money did not start as a market tool. It started in temples. The first coins were tokens for offerings. A shekel was a receipt for grain given to a god. Money began as a record of a deal with the divine. Second, the face. We followed a preserved head, a terror from the Hebrew ban of 620 BC, through the Knights Templar into the banking houses that replaced them. The head was an object its owners believed made them rich. When banking grew too large for one object in one locked room, the thing the head did had to be made small and portable and put into every hand. That is where we left it, a face on a piece of paper, doing a job that used to be done by a head on a plate of gold. This film is about the moment America made that job explicit and wrote it on the money in a language most people cannot read. The Great Seal of the United States was ordered in 1776. The design took 6 years. The men who worked on it: Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, William Barton, Charles Thompson, Pierre Eugene de Cimetière, all but one were Freemasons. The first metal die was cut in 1782 by Robert Scott, also a Freemason. The seal has two sides. The front is the one you know: an eagle, a shield, arrows in one talon, an olive branch in the other, 13 stars above its head. That side was cut into metal straight away and used to stamp official documents. It has been in use ever since. The back is the pyramid. 13 layers of stone with the top missing. A single eye floating above the gap in a burst of light. Latin above and Latin below. That side was never used. A die was ordered for it. The die was never cut. For 153 years, the back of the national seal existed only on paper. Most Americans did not know their seal had a back. There is a reason, and the man who gave it was not a critic. Manly P. Hall was a 33rd degree Freemason and the most respected Masonic historian of the 20th century. He wrote that the image was regarded as the symbol of a secret society and not a proper device for a sovereign state. Read that again slowly. The Freemasons thought it was too secret to put on a government seal, so the men who designed it drew it, understood it, and filed it away. And then, In 1935, a president took it out of the drawer and put it in the pocket of every person in the country. Every part of that image is doing a job. None of it is filler. The pyramid has no top. That is deliberate. The stones are separate blocks, each one distinct, joined into one structure. The designers said this was the ideal state. Many people, one nation. The missing top means the work is not finished. Whatever is being built is still being built. And the eye is not sitting where a decoration would sit. It is sitting where the last stone should be. The eye is what the pyramid is being built to hold up. Annuit, coeptus. The words above the eye. It comes from Virgil, the Roman poet. In the original, it is a plea. A man asking Jupiter to look kindly on something risky he is about to attempt. The designers changed it. They cut out the asking. On the seal, it does not say, "Please favor us." It says, "He favors our undertaking." Not a request, a statement. The job already has divine approval. Novus ordo seclorum, the words below. Also Virgil. It means a new order of the ages, not a new government, a new age of the world. Put together, the back of the seal says, something new is being built here. It is bigger than a country. It is not finished, and God is already on board. Then there is the number 13. 13 layers of stone, 13 stars, 13 arrows, 13 leaves on the olive branch, 13 stripes on the shield, 13 letters in E pluribus unum, 13 letters in Annuit coeptus. Now, the easy answer is the 13 colonies. That answer does not survive contact with the evidence. Twyman went looking for 13 in Masonic ritual in Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma in the Standard Lodge texts. It is not there. 13 has no special place in any Masonic ceremony we can read, which leaves two possibilities. Either the number means nothing and appears 7 times by chance, or it comes from a layer of the tradition that was never written down. And the color. We assume green is just what American money looks like. It is not. Mary Ellen Withrow, a former treasurer of the United States, said in an interview why green was chosen: growth, abundance, things multiplying. That is the same reason wheat shows up on coins in almost every culture that has ever minted them. Money is a fertility token. It stands for the increase it can bring about. Look at the bill again, and you will find olive branches, oak leaves, laurel, holly printed across it. None of that is decoration either. So that is what was in the drawer for 153 years. Not a picture. A complete working design for a money system that runs on belief drawn in 1782 by men who knew exactly what they were drawing. Which brings us to the only question that matters. Why 1935? To see why that year matters, you need to know what gold was really for. Under a gold standard, paper money is a claim ticket. The note is not the money. The note is a promise that somewhere there is a specific weight of metal you can come and collect. Gold does not care whether you believe in it. You can melt it, weigh it, make a tooth out of it. It holds its worth even if the government that stamped it disappears. That is the whole point. The metal was proof against people losing faith. It also acted as a limit. You could only print as much paper as you had metal to cover. How fast the economy could grow was decided in the end by how much gold was in the ground. Roosevelt removed that limit in stages. April 1933. Executive Order 6102. It became illegal for an American citizen to own gold coins, gold bars, or gold certificates. People were required to hand their gold to the government and take paper in exchange at $20.67 an ounce. The next year, the government revalued gold at $35 an ounce. Sit with what that means for the person who obeyed the order. They handed in their gold. They took the paper. And within a year, that paper was worth 41% less than the metal they gave up. The gold went to the government. The public got paper. And then the paper was marked down. February 1935. The Supreme Court settled what was left of it. In the gold clause cases, the court ruled that contracts written to be paid in gold no longer had to be paid in gold. The vote was 5-4. After that, a promise of metal was only ever a promise of dollars. 1944. Bretton Woods. 44 nations agreed to tie their currencies to the dollar instead of to gold. The dollar became the anchor for the world. America promised foreign central banks it would still swap their dollars for metal at 35 an ounce. 1971. After decades of American spending, the Marshall Plan, Korea, Vietnam, the reserves had thinned out. President Nixon ended the swap. Foreign banks could no longer trade dollars for gold. The last piece of metal under the system was gone. So what was holding it up? William Grider spent years writing the history of the Federal Reserve. His description of what was left reads like something out of a religious text. Money, he wrote, is a function of faith. It requires an implicit and universal social consent that is indeed mysterious. Each one must believe, and everyone must believe. Only then do the worthless pieces of paper take on value. That is a central banking historian, not a mystic. Now, put the dates in a row. Nobody teaches them this way. 1913. The Federal Reserve is created. For the first time, America has a central bank that can bring money into being. Money stops being something you dig out of the ground and becomes something an institution can declare into existence. 1933. The gold is confiscated. The public's last direct hold on the metal is cut. 1935. The new bill. The secret society symbol goes on the back. The unfinished pyramid. The eye. God favors our undertaking. A new order of the ages. Placed on the money in the same year, the court cut the last legal thread between a dollar and metal. The note still promised silver. It said so on its own face. What stood behind it now was the word of an institution. 1957. In God We Trust is added to the paper bills. It had been on coins since 1863. It arrives on paper at the height of the Cold War, while America is presenting itself as the God-fearing alternative to godless communism, and while the dollar is being locked in as the world's reserve currency. Trust in God. Trust in the dollar. Trust in America. By then it was one sentence. 1971. Nixon shuts the gold window. The last pretense ends. Read those 5 dates as one movement and something uncomfortable comes into focus. This is not 5 separate decisions about monetary policy. It is one operation. Every material anchor is removed from the currency, and at the same time, a symbolic one is installed in its place. The men who drew the seal in 1776 already understood something that economics still finds hard to say out loud. Money is a religious instrument. It has always run on faith. Gold was a crutch, a concession to people who needed something they could hold. Once you understand how the thing actually works, you can take the crutch away as long as you put something else there. Not metal, a symbol. Roosevelt was a 32nd degree Freemason. Henry Wallace, the man who proposed putting the seal on the bill, wrote extensively about the meaning of the symbols he was placing there. They did not find that image by accident. They knew where it had been sitting, and they knew why nobody had used it. They took it out of the drawer at the exact moment the gold walked out the door. So the swap is on the record. The metal that did not need your belief was removed. The picture that runs entirely on your belief was installed. Same country, same decade, same men. But a symbol is not a stone. It does not just sit there. It has to work. It has to do the job the gold used to do in the mind of every person who touches it for their whole life, without any of them ever stopping to look at it. Which raises the question this film cannot answer. How does a picture do that? There is an answer, and it is older than America. It runs through a Scottish gambler who told Europe he had found the Philosopher's Stone, through a devil in a German play who solves a debt crisis by inventing paper money, and through a god of contracts whose job was to stand over two men shaking hands and make the deal binding. Next time, what the eye is actually watching and why the top of that pyramid is missing